Alright, so welcome back to Terraforming Mars Colonies. What's in this box and how to play and all that. So in the last video we went over how to play basically with the new actions in this expansion. So now let's show you what's basically in this box for this expansion. So like I said, for the colony tiles, if you were to place your colony on here, you'd get a production increase of 2 for mega credits. That's pretty cool. When a ship came to trade, they would get a bunch of mega credits for the amount where the marker may be on. So if the white marker was on 7, they'd get 7 credits, and all the players that had a colony on here would get 2 for each colony they have on here. But like I said, in order to have more than one colony of their color on here, they would have to have played a card that would allow them to do that, and still, the maximum is 3 colonies per colony tile. So that's something to note. Ganymede here, you would get a plant production increase by placing a colony. You would get a certain amount of plants for the trade income when a fleet came here. And once again, the colonies would get a plant bonus as well for having a colony here for that player. Now this one is something you probably wouldn't get in the beginning of the game because this has to do with animals, and usually when you play with an animal card, it requires a certain amount of temperature or oxygen in order to play, so usually you don't get animals in the beginning of the game. But when you place a colony here on Miranda, you would get an animal, and then when the trade income came, they would get a certain amount of animals, but a maximum of 3 is what they would get if the white marker was this high, or this high. And then, of course, this is what's really cool about the colony bonus, is the players who have a colony on here, they get a card. So they don't get an animal, they get a card. So that's a cool bonus. That might be better than getting an animal at that point. So that's pretty cool. So putting a colony on here later down the road certainly wouldn't hurt, because you'd get a free card. So that's pretty cool. I like that. I like that a lot. Now, one thing you should know, when you play this game, the first player who places a colony on here will always go to the one that's on the left side. Then let's say the white marker was here on the second one, and it hadn't been moved up yet, and a player wanted to put their color tile on the second one, basically. They could. It would just move the white marker one up, basically. So it would go up higher a little bit. And once again, if another player wanted to put their color down, it would move that white marker up again. But then the rest of the game, it will only go up once per generation. So that's pretty cool. Then we have series, and so you'd get a steel production for placing a colony here. You would get a certain amount of steel if you were part of a fleet, if you had your ship here. And obviously the colonies would get 2 steel when that took place. So that's cool. This one works with microbes. So once again, Enceladus. I think that's Enceladus, okay. I could be wrong. My astronomy isn't that great. But this one works with microbes in the same way. But once again, you would have to have some microbe cards, and you might, considering a lot of them you can play in the beginning of the game. Then we have IO. This one works with heat, so in much the same way the other tiles work with certain something, you'd get heat, or heat production when you place a colony there. This one works with titanium, so Triton works with titanium. Then we have Pluto. This one works with cards. So when you place a colony here, you'd get 2 cards. And then when somebody comes to trade with this planet, the ship would get a certain amount of cards. So if the white marker was here on 4, they'd get 4 cards. That's awesome, right? And if they had a colony here, they would also get another card, along with whoever else has a colony here. They would get an additional card. But here's the thing. They would get that additional card, but then they'd also lose a card. +1 card, -1 card. So you'd get a new card, but then you'd have to discard another card. If you have a bunch of cards and you don't think you're going to play with one of them anyway, it won't hurt you, for sure, to discard a card for a new card. Or you could always discard the card you just got because it wasn't that great, for instance. So that's kind of how all the tiles work. There's one more that's a little bit more wonky than the rest of the tiles. So let's just go over it. So if you were to place a colony here on Europa, you would actually get an ocean tile. So that's cool. So that you could get, if everyone placed a colony on here with a maximum of 3, obviously, 3 ocean tiles would get placed. But like I said, it's only 1 money cheaper than actually placing an ocean tile the old-fashioned way. But if you got a special corporation or card that let you place a colony for much cheaper, Europa might not be such a bad idea as a choice. Then, when a ship comes to trade, they'll get the indicated production. So if the marker hasn't moved up 1 at all, they would get 1 mega credit production. But then every generation it would move up, and at some point they would get a plant production or energy production 1 step. And then the colonies who are on there, they only get 1 mega credit as their colony bonus. So when it comes to colony bonuses, this one is like the worst you could get for a colony bonus. Because you're only going to get 1 mega credit for a colony bonus. Yeah, that's kind of lame, right? So that's not so great. But you do get to place an ocean tile, so if you're trying to terraform the planet, that's not a half bad way of doing so, of getting an ocean tile out. Especially if you can do it for much cheaper than normal. And so obviously we went over Callisto in the last video, because we used that as a representation quite a bit. So let's go over the corporations. So there's 4 corporations that work with this expansion that don't require Venus Next to play with. And 3 out of 4 of them are just spectacular. So let's go over them, starting with Poseidon. Man, I'm so excited. All right. So with the Poseidon Corporation, you get 45 mega credits, and as your first action, you get to place a colony. That is awesome. Because like I said, placing a colony costs 17 money. This is letting you do it for free as your first action. Wow. But this also has an effect. When you... Okay, let's see if I can bring it up closer. When any colony is placed, including this, raise your mega credit production 1 step. So if you're going to be placing a lot of colonies on your turn, you're going to get to increase your mega credit production. And this is when any colony is placed. So if another player places a colony, you get to increase your mega credit production 1 step. If you do it, so do you. So that's like awesome. This rewards you big time if you are playing the colony strategy for Terraforming Mars. That's an awesome card, especially with just the first action. That is awesome. That is one of the best corporations there is. Man. Okay, now this one seems like it's a good one to begin with, but in reality, it might not be as good as the last one. So with this one, you get 50 mega credits. You get to start with 50. That is a lot, and you usually don't have it go that high. And you also get a 5 increase on your mega credit production 5 steps. Dude, that is awesome. And you also get 5 titanium to start with. That is a powerful corporation. But here's the thing. This has an effect that kind of is almost a negative effect. So when you buy a card to your hand, you pay 5 mega credits instead of 3, including the starting hand. So this is the downside for having this corporation. When you play with a corporation, unless you're playing with a beginner corporation, you have to pay for every card you decide you're going to keep. And so normally you pay 3 credits for each one you keep. But if you have this corporation, you have to pay 5 credits for each card you keep. So if you get this corporation, keeping more than 5 of your cards is gonna take out more than half of the money you start with. So the very, very downside to that card, for sure. So is it worth it? I don't know if I would choose it, unless I had a lot of space cards. I don't know if I would choose it. So not the best corporation in my eyes, but maybe somebody else likes that one more than I do. Okay, then we have ArcLight. You get 45 credits to start with, and you get to increase your mega credit production 2 steps. Say, hey, I think that's better than the last one, because at least it still goes up by 2. It also has an effect when you play an animal or a plant tag, including this, you add 1 animal to this card, meaning to this corporation. And this corporation is worth a victory point for every 2 animals you have. So if you have a lot of plant tags or animal tags and you're going to go that route, ArcLight is going to reward you for giving you a bunch of victory points at the end of the game. That is pretty cool. I think this is probably my second favorite corporation in this expansion. Then we have Aurador. This one's pretty cool too. You get 40 credits, and then as your first action, put an additional colony tile of your choice into play. So that's pretty cool. And as an effect, when you get a new type of tag in play, and event cards do not count, you get to increase your mega credit production 1 step. That is cool. So this rewards you if you play a bunch of different cards with different tags on them, like the space tag, the science tag, the earth tag, the plant tag, the microbe tag, the animal tag. You're going to get a mega credit increase for each time you play one that's new. Of course, if you play 2 science tags, it won't happen the second time you play a science tag or an earth tag or a plant tag. Not the second time, but the first time. So it could go up quite a bit through the game. That's pretty cool. And as your first action, you get to put an additional colony tile of your choice into play. Now, that is interesting. So that's why there's actually so many cubes. Let's say you were playing with 5 people. Okay? So you would have to have 5 of these plus 2 more of these cubes, because you would have to have a total of 7 colony tiles in the game. Okay? So you would start with 7 if you were playing with 5 people. The reason why there's an extra one here is exactly because of this corporation. This corporation lets you draw an additional colony tile for the game. So that's pretty cool. Having another colony tile certainly would be fun to have for everybody playing the game, for sure. So that's why that is there. And so this is a pretty cool corporation, for sure. So that's it for the corporations. That's it for the colony tiles. In the next video, we'll start going over the cards. All right, I hope you guys liked this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.